a welcoming. Yeah, thank you. Our welcoming session, basically, which is what we are on right now, and then we are going to play a brief game, and we'll have our speakers come in to present different aspects of our work, which is going to be exciting. And we also have a surprise. Well, it's not a surprise because it's here, but like our documentary teaser, well, you watching it is going to be a surprise, definitely. And we hope to conclude this in an hour. So thank you all for taking the time to be with us today. So right about now, I would like to invite you to um, put your name in the comments and where you are calling from. Like I mentioned earlier, my name is Ayomide Olude, and I'm currently in Lagos, Nigeria. So I'd like to meet other people on the call. So kindly introduce yourself, your name, and where you are joining from. Would really like to know that and connect. Thank you, Tunde. So we have another person from Lagos. Thank you. Zaina from Geneva, thank you. Svetlana from London, Fumi from Lagos, Rosie from London. Thank you all for joining. Really nice to meet you. Okay, we have somebody from Abuja. Anna from Germany, Ebon from Lagos, Ose from Lagos. Thank you all. And thank you for introducing yourself. So while others are still introducing ourselves, we'll just go straight into the game. So the idea is for you to share your hope score in numbers, and 5 is most hopeful, while 1 is most despairing. So, um, currently in the world, a lot of things is happening, minus climate change, a lot of political, cultural upheavals. So, it's been stress and a lot of information. So just kindly share, what your hope score is, even despite all of what we see on the news and what's currently happening. Hope is something that still keeps us going, definitely as human beings. Um, yeah, I can see people are sharing average average scores. Jennifer said 2.57. I wonder what the 57 is for. Yeah. Okay. Rosie is on a 4. Well, thank you. I'd like to hear from other participants to your hope score, and if you haven't introduced yourself, just kindly share your name and where you're joining from. Thank you for sharing. I think we have average scores for now, which is good. It's like we are on the balance basically, and that's always helpful. Right. Thank you for sharing. Okay, for those just joining us, you can kindly just drop your name and where you're calling from or your location currently in the chat. And as you can see on the screen, we are playing a short game and it's just you sharing your hope score in numerals. All right. So thank you all. Right about now, I would like to introduce our first speaker, who is, as you can see on the screen, Jennifer Uchendu. Jennifer is the founder of Susty Vibes. She is a climate activist, and she's also the founder of TEAP. I will just pass it on to her so she can introduce herself better. Um, yeah, over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much, Ayo, and thanks everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to speak about our work at TEAP. I'm the founder of Susty Vibes, and Susty Vibes is the parent organization that hosts our projects at TEAP. In this very brief session, I have only 10 minutes. I'll take you through how we started TEAP, what we've been doing so far, some of the really interesting things that we've been doing, and kind of like our reflections moving forward. As Ayo mentioned, I like to say these days that I am a mental health and climate change explorer. I've become increasingly interested in these issues, doing a lot of work around research and community-related projects. And very recently, also looking at how philanthropy can support these initiatives, particularly those happening around Africa. Okay. Next slide. Thank you. So basically, this the story of how we started TEAP, the Eco Anxiety Africa project, is very sort of familiar to a lot of youth climate activists and founders and organizations in Africa who do this work. We're at the point at Susty Vibes where we're moving with a lot of momentum. We're doing a lot of really exciting work, but it didn't feel like it was enough. So there were feelings of distress, people just feeling very overwhelmed. And research has shown us that this sort of overwhelm, distress, worry, and anxiety is now known as eco anxiety and broader eco emotions, basically. And I had attended COP. This is me in the picture, and COP was, I don't know, it was not a good experience. It was my first COP ever, and I was just very stressed at how, I had just expected something very different at COP. I thought this would be the space where everyone is aggressively working towards progress, but it just felt very kind of nonchalant, and people were doing what they were doing, and it just seemed very sort of individualistic. And I guess that sort of made me spiral even more. I had to make the decision, do I kind of continue this work we do at Susty Vibes with young people, or do I stop altogether? And I guess I made the decision to move in the direction of not just continuing our work at Susty Vibes, but also exploring these emotions deeply. So I often say that TEAP has been that necessary project that we needed to kind of sustain and propel the work that we do at Susty Vibes. So it's been about validating the emotions that we feel, but also helping us recalibrate and feel regenerated every single time that we start to feel stressed and like that this work is insurmountable. Next slide. Okay, so basically TIP works with 4 pillars, and I'll just take us through a few of those pillars. Research has been very important. Now, I didn't mention before, but part of the work that I had done in the early stages of just before TIP was actually centering my master's thesis on eco anxiety and trying to find out what's happening with young people. Why do we feel this stressed and worried? And I realized that there was little or no research on what was happening in Africa, particularly for young people. And so this kind of necessitated that approach. Like, if I'm coming back home to do this work, research has to be important. We need to be able to gather data. We need to be able to find out exactly what the problem is. What is our evidence for the need to support young people? How bad are things, and what does hope look like? And so research has been a really, really good anchor on our work. We've, kind of thrown ourselves into the need to ask the hard questions, reach out to people, find out exactly how they are feeling, what that means, and what peculiarities, that kind of entails. We ran a survey from 2019 trying to find out what eco-anxiety looks like in Africa. And in the right side of the slide, you can already see some of the triggers that young people in Nigeria say factor into their idea of what eco-anxiety means. It therefore shows us that eco-anxiety is not, experienced in silos of other kind of triggers for mental health issues for young people. If there's, insecurity, for example, unemployment, all of these things are coming into play into what young people think a thriving environment should be. So that's been really interesting and kind of drives our work to further really understand what young people are experiencing. Next slide. So this slide just basically shows some of the really exciting research we've been part of, working with institutions like the IIED, universities across the world, really trying to find out what exactly are risk perceptions for climate change. How do Africans, when we talk about emotions, how do Africans really explain and experience this? So it's been really good to have some of these things on paper so that they form evidence for whether policy making or advocacy and, and just generally knowledge building. Next slide. So our next pillar is really about space making. I think this is one of my favorites because um, very something that we really lack is that idea of creating space to just discuss, talk about these emotions, bring people together, validate these emotions, support young people, and just hear them out, right? So participatory approaches to action basically is what we've been doing with space making. We've set up Zen Cafe, for example, where we have conversations on how we're feeling, what emotions are, we're experiencing now, and how that interrelates with what our idea of eco-anxiety is. And sometimes this could be, issues of burnout, this could be issues of colonialism, and, and all sorts. Basically, young people are speaking out to each other and finding kind of peer-to-peer support. And our Zen Cafe is like one of the first initiatives of its kind happening, within Lagos and Africa at large. We've also had our Susty parties. We've always done parties at Susty Vibes. And so we've kind of incorporated our idea of TEAP, mental health, emotions into our parties to also use it as a way to talk about how young people are feeling. We've had this Climate Elders initiative where we've used intergenerational support, actually bringing our elders, folks who are age 55 and above, and telling them that young people are stressed out and feeling very powerless. How can you advise and work with us? What are some of the things we need to hear? We've had TEAP webinars, one of which we're here together. We've had dialogues, happening even across the world. So it's been really exciting to kind of make space to talk about the issues at hand and, look for what progress looks like. Next slide. So this is just a picture of our climate elders. It's one of our really exciting projects working with elders, as I mentioned. Our pillar 3 is around region-specific mental health support. When I came back to Nigeria in 2020, I started thinking of how we don't have a lot of mental health supports, even for mainstream mental health issues, and more particularly for now young people who are now feeling these issues. How then can the mental health community and support system respond to this sort of emerging and new issues that are coming up? So we're starting to look at how to increase capacity of the mental health community, bring together public health specialists, and host more and more conversations. And a couple of months ago, we ran the Anchor Learning Series, which was, it went for 6 months, and we were training African experts on climate change and mental health relationships. And it was really insightful to find out that there's a lot of interest from even experts and people who are already in the space who want to learn more about the synergy so that they can, respond effectively to the patients and to the people who they work with, and even for themselves, because research is telling us that even as experts, even as people who do this work, we need that support on our own. So it's been, it was really interesting to have Anchor done. Next slide. And finally, our pillar 4 is really about community action. So having said all, having validated, having created the space, how do we now take action, and what does action look like? For us, we know that action is a big, big motivator for eco anxiety, and young people want to translate everything that they're feeling, the fear, the distress, into some hope and action. TEAP has created this kind of synergy with the broader work we do at Susty Vibe, so that everyone who interfaces with us can relate and translate everything they've experienced into action through the different initiatives that we're running at Susty Vibe. So it's been good to see sort of that linkage and relationship with our broader work. Next slide. So our impact has been incredible. We've had elders apologize to young people, something that even within theory, we've said it's really important that some of these conversations are heard. Our impact has reached, global heights, press releases, media features. Lots and lots of young people are interested and excited about the work that we do. And even as a team, we feel very proud. We know that our work is important. We're constantly looking for allies and people who believe in the importance of climate emotions and mental health conversations within, broader climate and health spaces. So it's been really good to see partnerships with NGOs, with academics and institutions, and just driving forward this need to center this work, because we see that, for example, with everything happening in the US and many parts of the world, a lot of people are stressed, myself included, just seeing how politics and power can just reshape and kind of deter people from the right direction. This work is one of those examples that we can believe in the power of community and the power of networks to actually drive meaningful change. Next slide. And I'd like to say a big thank you to our partners. 3 years, we've worked with so many exciting people. I think these are just highlights of partners we've worked with, both globally and locally. It's been really good to get this sort of validation of people saying this work is important, this is an agenda we need to push and we need to support. Next slide. Finally, there's a lot of more work to be done, and I'm sure we know that the problems haven't ended. While we're doing our bit, there's still a lot of things to be done, particularly with young people. Our research has shown us that, safe spaces are needed. So we want to do more of safe space making. Community is needed, support is needed, capacity is needed. So our work has only just started these 3 years. We've built the momentum and we want to continue and even, scale up with the right funding, the right advice, the right wisdom, the right support, the right stakeholders. I'm very, very certain that a lot more Africans, a lot more young people would benefit and also be inspired by this work to set up their own, similar initiatives. We want to see Zen cafes in other parts of the world. We want to see young people stepping up and coming together and saying, we're going to be resilient, even in the face of the crisis. We're going to continue to drive climate action because we believe that as humans and as people, we can still tilt the change, to our own direction. So thank you very much. Over to you, Ayo. I'm looking forward to the rest of the conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. That was like an amazing presentation, basically sharing the work which I've been part of for this past 3 years, and it has been really exciting and fulfilling. And yes, like Jennifer just said, echoing we want more young people to be part of this community. Like we can do so much more to give ourselves hope and to be involved in the community. Our next speaker is somebody who has been part of TEAP's work since our inception. Also, he has been an advisor. He has, attended our webinars as a trainer and all of that. So Professor Kenneth has been part of TEAP also for the past 3 years, and today he's going to be talking about how TEAP, how relevant TEAP is on the global stage. I just want to read a brief bio and then I will pass over to him and he can also introduce himself better. Professor Kenneth is a professor of public health and infectology, and he has over 150 scientific publications and over 100 conference papers. He has also worked with several international organizations like the WHO and other community and groups around public health, especially in grassroots communities. So thank you, Professor Kenneth, for joining us today. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Ayo. Thanks to everyone here, most especially to founder Jennifer Uchendu. Really, really nice to be here. I'm trying to find out, Ayo, do you have our slides? Do you have our
Yes, I
slides?
do. Yes,
Okay.
yes. That's
All
it
right,
done.
so I guess there are 6 slides there. It was 5 or 6 a year. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So I'm very, very happy and delighted to be here, and more importantly, to identify myself with the Eco Anxiety Africa project, which was launched by Vibes. And I've journeyed with Vibes on this project for 3 years. 3 is a wonderful spiritual number. 3 in religion is Trinitarian. And I try to find out that there is a strong strength in the number 3. So Eco Anxiety Project is 3 years old. And we have listened to Jennifer, who, of course, is the initiator of Vibes and this project. And we've been able to see the journey so far. And we all agree here that for young people like this, who have come together in a very difficult terrain in Africa, identify a problem and seeing how they can congregate themselves to come up with solutions, but more importantly, to identify the problem and understand the problem. I think if we were in a space where we sit down in a conference, I think we would put our hands together for the Eco Anxiety Africa project and the team. So we can put our hands together for what they have done. You can clap there. It's not easy for them to have arrived at where we are and where they are right now. And I can only say thank you. I've journeyed with you. We've been able to run, a number of webinars and seminars, and in trying to understand, climate stigma, climate anxiety, which we have now come up with a hybrid word called eco-anxiety. This word is just beginning to appear in conventional literature because it wasn't there in any public health space. And, in the eco-anxiety project, we've been able to look at how you can see that they have been able to work us and work youths in understanding how climate change is bringing about grief, stirring emotions and all that. So it's no longer a problem to, it's no longer news to say climate disasters are widespread across the globe. And as much as it is widespread across the globe, being a problem, we know that because of the fact that we don't have a proper understanding and resources, Africa will always be very slow in response. So that's what TEAP is trying to bridge that gap. Next slide. Next slide, please. Are you there? All right. Now, over the years, we knew that climate change is there, but we did not understand the proportion because of that data. And TEAP has also contributed significantly in bringing up data. I know there are many institutions across the world that are collecting data, but more importantly, there wasn't any data on climate change impact on mental health. We have had data which has been in the space of ecology on how climate and extreme weather is affecting soil ecology, water ecology, and different habitats, and how niches are being distorted as a result of climate issues. But at least we never really anticipated that it could affect mental health, and psychologists were really not there in that space. And so this is a very big growing space, and that we are more or less in a learning curve. And I would say that in the last 3.5 years, climate change impact on mental health is being gradually understood. And TEAP has been one of the protagonists to create this very fabric of understanding in the activities that they have been really doing. Next slide. I think I've lost my slides. And while we're looking, so move on to the next slide. So the Eco-Anxiety Project have come up with very critical interventions that they are building up. They've spent most of their time, in my understanding and in my assessment, conscientizing the young people to understand this space. And I give them a tick on that. Now, take note, a lot of young people in Africa do not really bother about climate. What they bother is about, we need to eat. I need to get a good job that can serve me and I can eat. They need some comfort. If you talk to young people in Africa, I mean, if you look at the population of Africa, the population of Africa is made up of about 65% of young people. So you can imagine that. Now, while they are fraught with unemployment, while they are fraught with many social challenges, psychological challenges, we are also seeing that these challenges themselves present wonderful opportunity. And TEAP, in its work, is actually unveiling that this space has a lot of opportunity for even the employment and for psychological, economic, and cultural growth. And that's what they have done. So in the advocacy, I will listen to Jennifer, the founder, the advocacy, they've been doing strong advocacy. The Gens Cafe, bringing young people together, bringing the elderly together. And in this advocacy, they've run many webinars where, and I can see they've brought in important policy makers and academia to come in and discuss and share thoughts and share ideas. And we give them a tick on that. So they've been doing capacity building, and they've also been doing data research in order, which I call that more or less operational research, in order to better understand what kind of strategy they can use in order to prefer best intervention strategies and all that. I give them a tick on that. And the fact that they are a beacon for young people to have hope, even in a continent where despair seems to be what I call the rhythm seems to be the chorus on this particular continent. So we give, TEAP and Sostivibe a tick again on that. Next slide, please. Next slide. Now, I must say that, no, go back to the next slide. Go back to that. I must say that in their journey, like I've just mentioned, bringing in academia to talk in various forums, and I've been, one of that person who have actually been invited several times on this platform to talk and share thoughts on them. And one of the very interesting areas that I really enjoyed with TEAP was looking at climate and mental health, looking at climate awareness and psychosocial support in climate disaster. And I would challenge TEAP that there's a lot of work ahead of you to build interventions, in this particular area. We've all heard from news that January was the hottest January in recent times. Just imagine that. Meteorological data this week shows that there will be early rainfalls in a number of states, for example, in Nigeria. So we begin to anticipate flood in those vulnerable areas. What would TEAP do in that sense when you are able to match meteorological data and data from NASA, telling us and telling us that climate issues are far from being solved? So what would TEAP do? What is Sostivibe planning on that? These are concept mapping for the work that lies ahead of us. And one of the seminars, again, that I enjoyed with TEAP was looking at climate mental resilience-led interventions in Africa. And I gave a lesson from Cameroon. And some of the lessons that we are having right now, we are actually rolling out projects in Anambra State, in Bayelsa, and Cameroon, as well as Eswatini in Southern Africa. TEAP, you can see, like Jennifer says, that the work is just beginning. This gestation period, we still call it the gestation period for TEAP because there's so much work, still lying ahead. What TEAP has successfully done is to perhaps understand where you are coming from, understand who you are. Now, the challenge is, where are we going to? And how are we going to get to where we are going to? That is very, very important, a challenge ahead. And to do that, we have clues on that. And I'm sure that TEAP already has clues on that. We have to build on interventions. We have to see what kind of research, operational research or adaptive research that would generate life-changing psychological challenges that we have, especially for young people, but more importantly, vulnerable people as well. And if you can see that when it comes to climate and mental health space, it's not just about young people we're looking at. Even the elderly are still very ignorant about these kinds of challenges. Next slide, so I can wrap up. So you can see that these young ladies, and I call them young ladies, young gentlemen on this TEAP group and Sostivibe, you've seen that they've attended conferences in COP. They have a very global presence. And that tells you the burning zeal that is in them to make a change in the world. And I would like to end with the words of Michael Jackson. In one of his lyrics, he says, "We are the world." So TEAP is the world. Can you imagine that? TEAP is the world. We are the world. We got to make the world a better place. But I can say, who are those here who can help these young ladies and gentlemen to really realize this dream? To support them with funding. You can see that they have funding challenges. But unfortunately, I don't think I'm speaking to the right people in terms of this clarion call. I wish I could speak to the head of states on how to take the TEAP model in order to scale it, to magnify and amplify it in such a way that we start getting real-time benefits for psychological transformation and resilience across not just Nigeria, but across Africa. TEAP, we need to move to policy. It's a tough task. How do we get to Aso Rock for them to understand these issues? How do we get policymakers on the table? Without that, I can tell you that is going to, these beautiful ideas, data you've had, will be difficult for us to streamline it so that young people in the rural areas and suburban areas begin to feel that impact. How do we measure this impact? How do we get this impact now? That's the challenge staring at TEAP, and we need people to support TEAP in this particular dimension. On this note, I would say happy project anniversary. The battle ahead is even more daunting. Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you again. And I wish you the best. And I wish all of us the best. If I say I wish you the best, it means I'm dissociating myself from TEAP. So I'll say I wish all of us the best, and the best is yet to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, sir. Always listening to you is amazing. Thank you for your support so far. Thank you for your advice. And thank you for putting our name in rooms that we are not able to get to. Right about now, I'll be introducing our next speaker, Svetlana Onye, and she's the project lead at TEAP. She's an enigma basically, and I've been working with her for a year and some months now, and it's been really great, driving this impactful work together. So over to you, Svetlana. Thank you.
Thank you, Aya. Thank you for everyone for being on this call. So through the insights of Jennifer and Professor Kenneth, we've been given an in-depth insight not only on how TEAP began, sorry, I have a cat, but what we've managed to achieve in the past 3 years and the importance of our work. And the aim is really to carry our impact over into the next 3 years, into 10 years, and however long we have pushing this incredible project. So as Aya mentioned, my name is Svetlana Onye, and I'm the project lead for TEAP. And I've been a part of the team for almost 2 years now, working on our climate-related research and our initiatives. And what I want to do is share the exciting new projects that we are embarking on this year that are innovative and continue to fall under our pillars that Jennifer mentioned. Next slide, please. So the first new project that is happening at TEAP is our intergenerational dialogues. So at TEAP, we've recognized that eco-anxiety and resilience, it's not reserved to just one age group. Our Climate Elders campaign, which we launched 2 years ago, was the first time that we brought elders together with youth. And through that, we saw the impact that that has. And we want to do that again, but on a much bigger scale. So thanks to funding by UMI, we have created a project called Intergenerational Dialogues. So these will be dialogues between elders and youth in Abia, Abuja, and Lagos. And these dialogues will focus on exchanging experiences and wisdom about eco-anxiety, sustainable practices, but it will also be an opportunity to collaboratively work together on an intergenerational community project. So our hope is that these dialogues will provide rich research that helps us to measure generational differences in the prevalence of eco-anxiety, but also how resilience building can be shaped from an intergenerational lens and the impact that that can have on individuals and their communities long term. And we'll be sharing the recruitment form to be a part of these dialogues in the coming weeks. So definitely have a look out for that. Next slide, please. So another exciting project that we are implementing in TEAP is our Zen Guardians project. So over the last year, we have seen the impact of Zen Cafe and what it's done for African youth and providing them with the space and the community to speak about the impact of climate change on their mental well-being. So Zen Guardians offers us the opportunity to expand this work. So thanks to the Youth Climate Justice Fund, we're able to create this project, and it is a first of its kind training program. And it will offer 12 young climate activists from Nigeria, Uganda, and South Africa the rare opportunity to train and become skilled climate leaders and hold their own Zen cafes in their respective cities. So over the course of 10 weeks, they're going to learn everything from safeguarding, leadership skills, to planning and implementing their own Zen Cafe session. So they will be able to create a space in their communities where people can learn about the coping mechanisms to build resilience in the face of eco-anxiety. And they'll even be awarded certification after. So this is a 2-year project, and we hope that next year we will implement this project in 3 new countries in Africa. And of course, use the research from this project to truly grasp the impact of these training programs for young people. And similarly to the previous project I mentioned, a recruitment form will go out about Zen Guardians. So if you want to be a part of that, you can apply and see if you will be selected. Next slide, please. So this year we'll also be doing our new TEAP survey. So as Jennifer mentioned, we did a survey in 2022. So now we're doing updated one. And this time we're not limiting it to just Nigeria, but it'll be a survey for youths all over Africa. And there'll be additional questions that will allow us to truly understand the cultural context of eco-anxiety and what varying factors influence or exacerbate the feeling. And again, as we did from our 2022 survey, we'll be using this survey to shape future projects and interventions and see what we can do to support African youth across the continent. Next slide, please. So last year, we began filming our TEAP documentary. And this has been a really exciting and moving process where we're creating a film that shares the prevalence of eco-anxiety amongst African youths. We'll be sharing their lived experiences, but also we'll be hearing from subject matter experts in the film. Importantly, this documentary is going to highlight our work at TEAP, what exactly we do as a youth-led project, from our research to supporting and educating young people who experience eco-anxiety. So we're still in the process of filming it, but we actually have a trailer to show you in just a moment. Next slide. So before we show the trailer, I just wanted to echo this sentiment. So as the climate crisis worsens and hope can seem to waver, TEAP endeavors to make sure that our work is a beacon of light for young Africans. We want to be a reminder that there is always a place for African youth to share experiences, to learn, and to be emboldened to help one another. And we hope that through this webinar, you've been able to see how we've been trying to do that for the past few years, creating that impact, and how we will begin to do that again in the upcoming years. And now we're going to show the trailer for our upcoming documentary.
Thank you so much, Svetlana. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Svetlana. Okay. Okay, I think it's going to play now. Yeah, you can go ahead to play it.
Sorry, there's no sound.
Oh, okay. All right, let me just try sharing from my end. Apologies about that. Okay. Can you hear it now?
No.
Very slow. Um,
I don't think so.
okay. Can you hear it now? My apologies. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, let me see if it will work.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Can you hear us and see the video now?
Lush and bountiful region.
Hear or see my video?
A lush and bountiful region where rivers were rich.
Okay. My apologies, everyone. I hope you can hear me, but trying to play the video on my end keeps kicking me out of the call. So I'm just going to have my colleague share the screen, a screen rather.
The Niger Delta was once a lush and bountiful region rich in fish.
Okay. So please, while we are waiting, my apologies for the technical mishaps. Basically, bandwidth has been acting very funny.
And farms were fertile farming, but it is now a degraded ecosystem because of oil and gas extraction. It's as if our lives and lands do not matter.
So when we talk about eco-anxiety, Africa is the best place to see how that actually manifests. It's not just a time of the fear for the future, it's the fear for now.
And the reason is because they're thinking, if it's so bad now, is there a future?
And we're also aware that it's only going to get worse. Then what will happen to our livelihoods, to our future?
It is scary because right before their eyes, what it is I grew up seeing and taking for granted, they are seeing it fading away. And they're wondering what's going to happen to their future. The world needs Africa. And the people who are going to make the major difference are the young people.
Our older generations didn't benefit from exploiting nature in that way. The current generation are trapped in a very challenging sort of set of political and social circumstances, economic circumstances, and the future looks like it's just going to be a lot worse.
When we love ourselves, we'll care for ourselves and we'll care for the environment.
Western institutions are the ones that create research, and they aren't African, they don't understand African needs.
African children need to sit up, do more research, find out exactly what is going on.
Because we are currently living with the consequences of inaction.
There isn't a channel to express or to validate these experiences.
So TEAP does various projects to help young people who are experiencing eco-anxiety.
Because young people are now seeing the consequences of not taking action, and now they are coming together, to pool efforts.
Having now the space for us to own these emotions from our own local context is really important, and that is what TEAP gives people.
We've learned from past generations, and now we understand that if we don't take action, no one will.
All right. Thank you so much, Fesana, for sharing. I hope we're able to catch the video. Yeah, thank you, Anna. Aside that, we'll be sharing with you after the webinar so you can watch it. Thank you all for your excitement. Okay, great, amazing. Thank you. So right about now, we are just going to have because we are close to the end of the hour. I hope you can hear me clearly. I will just open the floor to questions or comments. So if anyone has any questions or comments, you can also drop in the chat and I will read them out. Or if you want to share anything at all, we are open to listening. Yeah, so from the comments, we can see people, Anna is excited to watch the full clip. Edna says, great work, glad the video played. Well done. And I hope to connect with TEAP more on eco-anxiety. Thank you, Edna. And Dr. Toyin says, Viva TEAP and well done. Thank you so much. I really apologize for the technical difficulties once again, but we are going to upload and definitely share with everyone on this call after the session so you can watch again. And you can also share feedback after and let us know what you think. But thank you all so much for staying till now and listening to our work so far this past 3 years. Like all the speakers have mentioned, it has been amazing, it has been impactful, and even as me personally working on this project, it has been meaningful and life changing, and I get to do um, you know great work for myself particularly and also for other young people like me. We get to build community and we get to have conversations and we get to do good work for our present and also our future. And I want to thank you all for taking the time to join our session. Like Svetlana said, we have a couple of projects coming up, our Zen Guardians, intergenerational dialogues, and a lot more. And we'll definitely be sharing with everyone. So kindly do follow us on social media if you are not following us yet. And handle on all social media platforms is TEAP Africa. So you can just go and share, check on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter, and keep up with our work. We'll also be sending you periodical emails so you know what we are up to and you know how you can apply and join whatever community or whatever projects that is upcoming. Also, we are would like for you to share our survey and fill the survey. We dropped the link earlier and we'll also be sharing the link once more. So the survey, like Svesana mentioned, is for us to just understand these emotions from Africans' perspective. Like we said all through the call, the idea is for us to put out young people's voices, but not just young people, but young Africans, share our voices, our emotions, research how we feel, how these things impact us on a day to day. And that is how we can really bring forth meaningful interventions that would really impact our daily lives. Definitely. Another thing that we'll be sharing with you is our report. So we have an impact report for the past 3 years, heavy on the work we did last year in 2024. And we'll also be sharing with you via email. I'm sure that will also answer any questions you have, or just give you any ideas. Definitely you get our emails and contact address on our reports and websites, and we'll also share with you via email. So you can always reach out to us. That's what I'm just trying to say. We are open, and you can reach out to us for collaborations, for concerns, for comments, and everything. I would like to thank you all again for joining this session. Really appreciate you taking the time to be here, especially our speakers, Jennifer, Professor Kenneth, Svetlana. Thank you for taking the time to make the presentation and share with us tip work. Right now, I'll be telling you all bye, but definitely look forward to receiving emails with more details. And we'll also upload the webinar session so you're able to go back to it and watch. Thank you all so much, and have a good rest of your day.